Do you want to know more about model railroad scenery? Why don't you stick around and watch this segment and see how we did it on my in-scale model railroad, the Amboy Secondary. Hello everyone, Joe from Central Jersey Conrail and in-scale. Welcome back. This is our conclusion to our three-part series on constructing the Amboy Secondary. Just to refresh your memory, Amboy Secondary is that little shelf that we have out in the fan room that comes through the wall over here. This segment we're going to be wrapping it up, putting in the buildings, putting in all the lights, doing a ground foam, roads, various details and stuff, and getting ready for running. So, why don't you sit back and watch the video, and we'll talk to you afterwards. First thing I did was install the wooden ties in the gaps on the rails. Next, I started building up the embankment for the turnpike bridge. I'm using Loctite PL 300 for foam glue. Okay, so here we are getting started on the cantanary poles. So I'm using plaster struck and evergreen I-beams, two different sizes. The thicker ones are being used for the legs and the thinner ones are being used for the cross members. I'm cutting the legs to 50 scale feet and the cross members at 45. Now I am making some different sizes for different applications. Like in the yard, I'm making one that's like 60 feet wide. And at the turnpike bridge, I'm making one with legs that's 70 feet tall. So it just depends on what the application is for the measurements. So next, I take all those pieces and I lay them out on my mat. I'm using the grid lines in the mat to make sure that everything's all straight and square. I'm also using a master piece there to help me lay it out. Then once the three pieces are all aligned, I use the plastic cement. Then I just work through getting them all assembled. They are kind of flexible at this point, they're not very stable. So then what I do is I come in and I put these cross members using evergreen strips. And that adds real rigidity to the assembly and makes it stand up nice and straight. Once I'm done assembling them, I poke holes in a block of pink insulation foam and I stick them in there, let them dry overnight. Then I'll just take that whole block into the spray booth to paint them. Here I'm painting the track. I'm using Model Flex Rail Brown. I'm just going through and spraying it. I'll let it set up for a little bit while we do the clouds, and then I'll come back and clean the track. Okay, so here we are getting started with clouds. I decided on this little portion of this backdrop I wanted clouds again, just to make it look a little better because it's out in the fan room, it's away from the layout. So I'll start with doing my outlines and then come back and fill it in. Now I'm going over and putting the haze along the horizon. Also, I come back and do the underside of the clouds with that gray to give it the darker color on the bottom of the clouds. Now, while the paint's still kind of wet, I'm going back with my cleaning block and getting the paint off the rails. Now I'm using my hot wire foam cutter, cutting the blocks for the embankment of the turnpike bridge. I get it close and get all the excess material off, and then I come in with the rasp and then finally do fine tuning on it. Here I'm gluing in a piece of plastic to represent the concrete wall. Now I'm just using apple barrel craft paints to paint the scenery base. So now I'm going to start installing the structures. First thing I do is I take the hot wire cutter with the engraving portion, stick it down through the styrofoam to make a hole for the wiring. Here I'm putting dirt down to go underneath the bridge before I put the bridge in place. So now I set the bridge in place and wire it up to turn the lights on. Now repeat the process for each of the buildings, wire them up as I go. Here I'm just checking the buildings to see if any light is leaking out. Now I install all the tanks and other apparatus associated with the facility. Also, I'm going to put in a parking lot. Now I'm drilling holes and start installing the cantanary poles, and then I fix them in with crazy glue. This portion here where I'm drilling into is actually wood. If you're doing it in styrofoam, I wouldn't use crazy glue because it'll melt the foam. So as you can see, everything's been installed, the tracks have been ballasted, and now we're going to start adding ground foam. Now I'm working on this open area. I'm just going to make it an open field. I'm going to put a layer of ground foam in first, and then we'll come in and do static grass. All my ground foams are from Scenic Express. I'm using a bunch of different textures and colors to fill it. get the ground foam in place, I wet it down with alcohol and then use some diluted white glue in a spray bottle. Here we are getting started with our static grass. I'll put a layer of glue down on top of the ground foam and then come in with the static grass applicator and put it down. Once I'm done putting it all down, I come in with my shop vac, suck up all the extra stuff, and it makes the grass stand up on it. All right, everyone, so there you go. That's where we put it together. Very, very happy with the outcome. It seems like the more I'm working and through the layout, the better my techniques are getting. So let's go over a few things. So this little section here was a first for a bunch of different things. First off was using styrofoam. And it's kind of ironic that we're using EPS foam for the EPS facility. But anyway, I digress. I used the hot wire cutter. I have to caution everybody. I read a lot of other articles on using the hot wire cutters. It produces noxious fumes, so you really got to have a lot of ventilation down here. What you didn't see was off camera, I had a bunch of fans set up because the first time I experimented with it a couple months ago, I was getting headaches. So I opened up the windows down here and had a lot of air circulating. The other thing is let the hot wire cutter get really hot. It seems the hotter it is, the better, cleaner burn it is, and it doesn't produce all that fumes. So just be aware of that when you're using it. It's a great tool, great technique. The hot wire foam cutter gets you close and gets all them big chunks off, and then go in and fine tune it with the rasp. That was really effective. And the other big thing was the static grass. So I've been dying to try static grass for the longest time. And the opportunities really came along with the layout that I could start experimenting with it. So just to let you know, I'm not endorsing any brands. I'm not receiving any endorsements or anything for the products that I'm going to mention. I chose the Woodland Scenics static grass applicator. I like that one because of the features that it has. Number one, it allowed you to cut the bin in half so you could have two different lengths of grass. I also like the LED on the top, so it tells you that it was on. Some of the static grass applicators I'd seen, you don't know if it's on or off. This one also gives you the option to use the 9-volt battery or to plug it in. At first I was like, oh, I don't want to worry about a battery dying and all that stuff, but then when I thought about when I was using it, I was like, yeah, you know what, I'm glad I didn't get that cord, because that's one more cord to get in the way of the structures and details while you're putting on the static grass. And by dividing that bin up, I was able to use 2 different lengths of grass in 2 different colors. So I used Hecky 2mm light green, and I used Silflor 4mm dark green. So this way you don't get that uniform look. It's got 2 different lengths and 2 different colors, so it kind of varies it up. Really happy with the way it came out. The only downside of doing that was that block that the Woodland Scenics thing gave you. You've seen it in the video. It's got these feet that sit, and it's real heavy. Problem is, it left little divots in the static grass. So when I go try it on the next section, I'm going to try like Luke Towan does. It looks like he takes a paper clip and kind of just touches it. So I'm going to give that a shot. I know they tell you to shift it back and forth. So I was trying it, but personally, it seemed like if I was just tapping it, it would seem to work much better. Because when you were moving it around, the grass tends to go all over, and you saw me blow it off the fascia because it was all stuck to the fascia and the switch panel. So yeah, the tapping seems to be just as effective. So just keep watching for upcoming videos as I do more static grass. As I start to learn it more, I'm watching videos and learning as I go. I'll be able to give you some more tips. This one was really just a trial and error. That's why I kind of just went through it quickly. The one thing I did think that I didn't do correctly was I put the ground foam down with the glue. I should have let it dry overnight, because as I was putting the second layer of glue down, some of the ground foam was moving and clumping up. So I know that's one tip that I can give you is wait. The other thing I did this time around is big difference from the last 2 sections was with my structures. I built the structures, fully detailed them, and weathered them before I brought them in. When I was using the powders in Sayreville, it was getting all over the scenery, so that was one thing. And then with the engine house, I said, oh, I'll come back to it later. Well, I still haven't gotten back to it because I'm so busy with everything else. So I figured, let's just do it on the bench, get it done, and then install it, and it'll be all finished. So I used a lot of dry transfer decals that I had found in my Woods furniture kit that I never used, so that was good. I put a lot of those signs up. I put all the signs in and then weathered. Predominantly, most of the structures were weathered with the airbrush, and then I just used the weathering powders to accent it. So that's what I did with all the structures. And then I brought them over here and installed them. This time around, what I learned from Sayreville was I built that big, beautiful structure for sunshine, right? I glued it all in. 3 days later, one of the Miller Engineering lights went dead. I can't get it out. I have to disassemble the whole building. So that's what I learned this time. So these buildings aren't glued down. They're affixed in place with the scenery around it, and that can very easily be undone with just by spraying some alcohol to loosen it up and then pull it out. So if there's any problems with the electronics in the buildings, I can go back. The brick building here, right there. And I made a nice detailed interior. Well, not a detailed interior. I made a nice interior to give the idea that there was the reactor vessels in there and stuff like that. The only problem is the Walthers clear windows aren't clear enough for you to see. So you kind of see like a blob. You see that something's in there. But I made an interior, but it's just not as visible as I expected. This little warehouse scene, really happy with the way it came out. The only thing is when you watch some of the picture pop up, you see that my painting, I missed some spots, so I'm gonna have to go back there with a really tiny brush and get in there and touch it up. But really cool little scene here, and it just adds a little conversation to the layout. So very happy with the way this came out. I also went over in that video, I showed you how to build those cantanary poles, because I know a ton of people were asking how I did it. Now listen, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't use any plans or anything like that. I mean, there is plans. If you go on to Pennsylvania Railroad Technical and Historical Society, they have all kinds of detailed drawings and stuff, but I didn't bother with that. I just wanted to represent the idea that the cantanary poles were there. Didn't get too overly detailed with, you know, a lot of them have signs and stuff like that, but I didn't bother with that. I just wanted the presence there, and I'm not going to be stringing any overhead lines because it's not going to work. With people reaching in to uncouple cars and resetting derailments, I don't want the scenery to get tore up with those easy lines and stuff. So just going to leave them like that. But as you can see, it's very effective. It gives you the idea of, you know, electrified territory in New Jersey that Conrail was working under in the mid 80s. So that's really what I was looking for. So once I put them together, what I didn't show you was I put them in the spray booth, primed them, and then sprayed them with rail brown. That's what I used to color them. And the turnpike bridge, that was pretty much my favorite part of the whole thing. Really came together nicely. It was all scratch built except for the bridge piers and the overhead sign stanchions. Those were 3D printed. Oh, and the Jersey barrier down in the center. Not happy with the Jersey barrier because the 3D print that I got was little individual sections. I really didn't realize that when I ordered them. And as I was putting them in, they're not totally all smooth and stuff. So we have to find a different vendor or something for Jersey barriers for center dividers. The signs, I think the signs were very, they needed to be put in just to portray the image of what the road is. Most of the people from Jersey sees that blue Woodrow Wilson service area, they know that's the turnpike. So that's really what I was trying to do there. And then the other green sign, which you can't see because it's facing the wall, is exit 7A for 195. So, you know, I thought that was very important to put those signs in there because it kind of brings the, it gives you the idea of where we are. The other thing was the billboard, WOBM-FM. Growing up in the 80s, that was a huge radio station down on the shore. They were always giving out bumper stickers and had billboards everywhere, and it was that iconic blue with the white seagull. So I found it, it's actually a bumper sticker that somebody had taken a picture of, and I just cut it up to make it look like the billboard. So definitely that portrays of, oh, okay, that's New Jersey. I understand that now. So I think the signage is very important when you're putting your layout together to portray the period that you're modeling and the geography, the area that you're modeling. So I think that's why I like the turnpike. It brings everything home. Okay, so that's going to put a wrap on this section. We did it started in January. We're done by the end of May. Very happy with the outcome. What you can look forward to next is we're going to be moving over to Jamesburg. I've already started in there, so expect a video by the end of June, so we can get moving down the line. Also, we're going to be having we're going to be wrapping up our ops session next month with the yard work, and then I got that special video coming out for you in July, and then we'll take a break for a month and get started with a new operations series, and then got all my shop videos coming out. So that's what you can look forward to on the channel. And also this month I wrapped up the season on Model Rail Live, so I thank you all for your support and following along. I'm going to be taking the summer off and we'll be coming back in September with the new series, so stay tuned for further details. If you guys haven't checked out that channel, go over there and check it out. A lot of free content. Bill Graham always has good guests on, a lot of good information. The live chats on Thursdays with Johnny Reb and you know, and in my show. And then we got a lot of good people behind the channel, behind the scenes, and Andy with his fine scale build, and Miles Hale, he guest stars, and then also Ralph Ranzetti, he also comes on very frequently. So go over there and check out that channel. A lot of good information that you can learn from. Okay, so that's all I have for you this time. If you're seeing this video for the first time and you like what you're seeing, please subscribe to our channel because I'm always producing a lot of free content for everybody. If you haven't done so already, please check out our Facebook page and Instagram account because I'm always posting up daily updates of my progress. And otherwise, that's all I have for you this time. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.